Hello, myself Milan Sresht, presenting my term paper on comparison of different retrofitting techniques using analytical hierarchy process AHP. Nepal is a South Asian country with very rich culture. Century-old temples, monuments, and palaces of Nepal are popular for their unique architecture. Most of those historical heritages are load-bearing masonry structures. In 2015 Gorkha earthquake, hundreds of such monuments collapsed or were severely damaged. In this term paper, we are discussing which is the best method of retrofitting for the historically and culturally important masonry structures. The common methods of retrofitting used in Nepal for load-bearing structures are splint and bandage method, RC jacketing method. FRP retrofitting is a new method of retrofitting which is in initial stage in Nepal. In this term paper, we are comparing these three methods of retrofitting using AHP, that is analytical hierarchy process. Let's talk about the three methods of retrofitting first. First, splint and bandage method. In splint and bandage method, horizontal and vertical bands are provided on the wall. First, horizontal and vertical reinforcements are provided and then they are covered by microconcrete. The horizontal belts are called bandage and vertical bands are called splint. The approximate cost for splint and bandage is about 10,000 Nepalese rupees per square meter. Splint and bandage bring considerable change in shape and size of original structure. In RC jacketing of wall, reinforcement is applied over the whole surface of the wall and they are covered by microconcrete. The approximate cost is about 13,000 Nepalese rupees per square meter. RC jacketing increases the width of the wall considerably. In FRP retrofitting, fabrics or sheets of FRPs are attached to the wall by adhesives like epoxy. Common types of FRPs used are carbon, glass, and aramid. FRP retrofitting do not bring considerable change in shape and size of original structures. Also, FRPs are very easy to apply. The approximate cost of FRP retrofitting is 10,000 Nepalese rupees per meter square. Now AHP. AHP is a popular method of making multi-criteria decisions. Several alternatives are compared by AHP considering both qualitative and quantitative criteria. AHP comprises of scientific and mathematical procedure to make complex decisions. The first step of AHP is to identify the goal, criteria, and the alternatives. We are already clear about our goal, that is, compare and select the best method of retrofitting for historical load-bearing masonry structures. Our alternatives are also clear, those three methods of retrofittings. A group of professional engineers were formed to identify the criteria and determine their importance. Here you can see the hierarchy model. Different criteria considered in the analysis are cost, ease of implementation of the retrofitting techniques, ease of retaining original shape and size of structures, availability of required expertise, skilled manpower, and materials and resources, and how often the retrofitting techniques was used in the past. The second step of AHP is to carry out the pairwise comparisons of the criteria and alternatives. Using the fundamental scale for pairwise comparisons as shown to form the pairwise comparison matrices. First, the group of engineers assigned different weightage to the alternatives. Now the weightage of the criteria were compared in pair using the fundamental scale for pairwise comparisons to form the criteria comparison matrix, which is shown in the slide. The normalized eigenvector was evaluated to get the relative weights of the criteria. To find the eigenvector, first the criteria comparison matrix was multiplied by itself, and then the elements of each row was summed up to get the vectors. The eigenvector was then normalized by dividing each element by the sum of the elements. Now, by similar procedure, 7 3x3 alternative comparison matrices were also formed, and the normalized eigenvectors were also evaluated. When you see the first row, you can see the relative weights of the criteria. Under each criteria, the other elements represent the normalized eigenvector of alternative comparison matrices, which are the relative weight of the alternatives under each criterion. Finally, the relative weights of the criteria and the relative weights of the alternatives were synthesized to get the overall priority ranking and overall priorities of the retrofitting techniques. From the table, you can see the overall ranking of A1 is 0.24, A2 is 0.36, and A3 is 0.4. So by the AHP analysis, alternative A3, that is FRP retrofitting, is the best method of retrofitting for historical wall-bearing masonry structures. These are the materials I referred for the AHP analysis. Thank you everyone for watching.